Hi, I'm North. This is North and His Books, my YouTube channel where I talk about languages. And in this particular video series, I talk about my own language learning journey as I try to go up to that level of C2 in 10 languages. This is titled Week 14, although it is the 11th video in the series that I have made. The reason is simple. I missed a few weeks. And the reason for that is simply that I had other things in my life going on. Professionally speaking, and also on a personal side as well, a number of things together. And so, because this is not my job, although it would be very nice if it were my job, it isn't. I don't earn any money from this. I had to take a few weeks off of not only making a video here and there for the 2 people who watch this, but also because I had a bit less time to study languages. That doesn't mean that I wasn't studying. So last time I made a video, I was talking about how I was speaking Russian more often. And because of those things that came up in my life, I was unable to continue speaking with my Russian tutor on a regular basis. And it was pretty disheartening because I felt like I was starting to, although Russian is much harder than any language I've achieved a high level, and I was trying to get to that point where I could maintain a semi-normal conversation on a decent variety of subjects, with the patience of the teacher. It stopped. However, I did switch it up, so to speak. So because I had more things on my plate in some ways, I was able to do some other things to keep making progress. The hardest language on my list of languages that I want to get to C2 in is Chinese, Mandarin Chinese. And I had learned a little bit how to read, but I had planned to start learning it seriously. That is, with a tutor and with conversation partners and by reading a lot, which is how I usually learn languages from Canada Day. But I started early. So I've been reading this Graded Chinese Reader, 3,000 words, fewer than 3,000 characters. And I've also been sort of trawling through the internet. Those who know anything about learning Chinese may know that the official Chinese fluency test, the HSK, previously had 1 to 6 levels. Now they're adding level 7, 8, and 9. Although it's not exactly perfectly clear yet how it will work. There was somehow on the internet a list of new vocabulary that would be useful. And so I was able to find that vocabulary, and I'm starting to transfer it into my Anki and not only add directly the words that are in this new advanced list of words, but also go through similar words using the same characters. For example, if I see a word that contains a character that I've never seen before in my life, I'll look up that character and I'll see what other words use it. Even if that word is a loan word, for example, it's like Zimbabwe or something where it's composed of a series of characters that have nothing to do with the meaning of the characters, just because they sound somewhat like the word or the name Zimbabwe. Whatever it is, to sort of get more reps in and learn how to read more and more characters and more words. So right now, my number of new cards in my Anki for Chinese is rapidly increasing. It's now in the well over 1,000. I suspect it will get into several thousand fairly quickly. Obviously, 2 cards per new word or idiom or character. Sometimes I add individual characters. So that's what I've been doing. In addition to that, I still obviously every single day I wake up, I have my coffee, and I listen to various YouTubers talking about news, whether it be actual news channels or people who talk about history or art or kind of blogs, that kind of thing, whatever it is. So even though I haven't been speaking Russian, I have been listening to it. I found a math teacher online, so he's got an actual blackboard behind him, and he's doing these geometry problems for high school students, I assume. And obviously, it's been a while since I've done some of the stuff like that. But it's interesting because it's on a subject I know something about. I understand how triangles and angles, etc., work because of my professional field. I also am more readily able to understand this fellow talking about geometry than I would be able to understand, for example, a Twitch streamer talking about how he won or lost the previous match of the game that he plays for 12 hours a day. So It's very interesting. I've also started watching a little bit of Chinese, obviously subtitled. There's a great YouTube channel called Mandarin Corner. It has a very nice woman who goes through. This is a couple of years ago. She went through every single word of the 6,000 that you need to know for the HSK, and she provides the word, the meaning, and a sentence. And she's in front of a camera. It's very well produced, and she's speaking very clearly. And so it's very good practice because obviously with Chinese, you have all that memorization, and hearing someone speak like that helps a lot. And now she has a few more videos that I've noticed, even though some of them are a couple of years old, where it's sort of she's walking around Hong Kong or wherever, and her hometown, her family house, and she's talking, and there are all the subtitles in English, in Mandarin, Chinese, simplified Chinese, as well as the pinyin, the pronunciation. So I've been doing a lot of that, and I very much hope that sometime this summer I get to that level of being able to comfortably read at a moderate level, at an intermediate level in Chinese. So this, for example, this book here, as you see, 3,000 words. This is the final book in a series of 6. So the easiest book is 500 words for a graded reader. Then it goes up by 500,000, 1,500, and so on, all the way up to 3,000. So this is the hardest, at least on Amazon.ca, the hardest graded reader I could find. And I do understand it with caveats. I know what's going on in the story, although there are a decent number of words that I don't recognize, even if I should have learned them, that when I then look them up, I then will go, oh, right, it's that word I completely forgot. But there's a huge gap between this hard graded reader and a regular text, like the news, or how a Chinese person might hear about what's happening in an election in another country and so on. I mean, even reading, I used the word Zimbabwe a few minutes ago, even reading the name Zimbabwe in Chinese is in itself a bit of an accomplishment. And all the cities, for example, the city where I live in, which has a French name, I recently saw it, and I wouldn't have been able to guess where I live if I saw it in a list. I would have maybe if I had some kind of long process of elimination, but essentially, Montreal in French, is almost indecipherable in Mandarin Chinese. I can vaguely see how they got from what their characters are pronounced as to the name of the city where I live. So it would be a huge accomplishment to get there, and obviously I'm going to keep plugging away. And I can't wait. I would love in Montreal as a decent sized sort of international city, the second biggest city in Canada. It's pretty easy to find Chinese here, students, professionals who love to practice English or French. But I don't want to jump into a conversation exchange situation right away because I'm just not at that level yet. I haven't even spoken Chinese ever, besides a couple of words a couple of times. I would like to start off with maybe 5, 10, 15 hours with a tutor, just so that I know I can at least pronounce, like the letters Q versus X versus C versus CH and so on, to actually be able to distinguish them and actually be able to pronounce them properly, so that a patient Chinese would be able to even engage in a conversation with me. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I once again plan to release more videos on various topics, especially more related to my difficulty with Chinese, but also to release a couple of videos in other languages, just to, one, prove to myself that I'm still able to speak those languages, but also to go back to the core of why I wanted, or I was motivated to make a channel in the first place, which is it's about my books. It's about the things I like to read. In the end, there are so many books in Chinese I would like to read that I hope one day to be able to. Obviously, there's a huge history and a great literature in that language. But also, there are many great books in languages that I can already read that I have sitting on the bookshelf behind me, some of which I've only partially read, which I would love to further read and further talk about. That's it for this week. Thank you for your attention. Look forward to more videos.